how did you get this kind of mindset? I mean, obviously, I think people that are watching or listening right now, they can just feel that you're a little different. You know, you're not normal. You're like, you got like a toughness about you. You got a directness about you. And like, did it come from mentors? Did it come from reading? Did it just, were you born this way? How did you get that mental toughness, man?
You know what? I think that there's a little bit of it that gets passed down through DNA. I think, you can't deny our DNA and our ancestors and just coming from a tough background. I was also the oldest of 4 boys. My dad's a firefighter and a contractor and just a tough human being. So I was raised with, a high level of discipline and high expectations. And then, I also had very supportive parents that were conditioning me to believe in myself and to have confidence in my abilities and to believe that I was meant to do great things. I was born first for a reason. I was going to be an example to these boys for the rest of my life. And, early on in life, I didn't know what to do with that. And I kind of folded under the pressure and got into drugs and alcohol. But then I knew I always had it in me. And I always had this presence when I showed up to a place, because I've gotten this, since I was a young man. Just people say that you've just got something about you. You've got this energy. When you come into the room, it's like all the heads turn to this new energy that's there, and all your enthusiasm and positivity you bring. And now over the past several years, I really have found some power in mentors and coaches and surrounding myself with great people and being able to emulate people at even a much farther place into their journey than I have, maybe sometimes will even ever get. And so it's like, that's some of the things that I'm going to take from this person, apply to my own life, how I treat people, how I act, the energy and confidence that I bring to a situation. And, I always just kind of build on that too. So some of the things that I write down as I'm coming into a meeting, or I'm prepping for I got a summit in a couple of days, I got to kind of remind myself of these things. It's like, I have this tender side of me also, but the side of me that makes me powerful is that kind of controversial side, and just being myself and being bold and just saying it how it is and just calling it. And, not everybody likes it, but that's one of the things that makes us powerful, is just tapping into those things that we have naturally.
So how does a kid that came from tough parents, firefighter dad, how does a kid like that go into drugs, man, and alcohol, and and like get caught up with that shit? Like, how does that happen? Usually that happens because you had bad parents, you had unsupportive parents, you had, whatever. So how does that happen, man?
You know what? It was as supportive as my parents were, as much as they loved me, as great of examples as they've always been to me in my life. When I hit about 13 or 14, I had a lot of freedom. And we could leave all day long and nobody would ever know where we were at. And I started to get a little taste of what I could get away with. And, I feel like I've always been instilled with this level of integrity. And, I had such great examples in my life, but it was like I was testing the waters. I've always been that person that had to learn the hard way. And as much as I had heard about all the bad things and all the worst case scenarios, I had my first beer at 13. I started smoking weed at 14, and I could hold it together pretty well and come home a little bit stoned still and be able to pull it off. So I just did it for years and years and years. And it weighed on me because I knew it wasn't aligned with the things that I'd been taught and the things that I wanted to do with my life. And it got to some really low points in 2015, 2016, 2017, when it kind of got to an all-time low, and I was drinking more, smoking more than I ever had, with a family, and like driving my kids around drunk and shit. It was bad. And I finally had just a wake up moment close to losing everything, and was able to reel it all back in and start going hard in the opposite direction, start applying all those same addictive tendencies, just pointing them in the direction of positivity and growth and being able to impact people's lives.
Yeah, it's crazy because I relate a lot to probably the earlier in your life, because I started real young, drinking and smoking and doing all kinds of bad shit. And and I think it was a lot of those same things that I just wanted to see the other side. I wanted to see, because I had supportive parents. I actually grew up in a middle class, never really poor, dirt poor or anything like that. It was always a middle class existence. And, my parents did good. My stepdad was a college educated guy, and my mom and my real father got divorced. And so I relate to what you're talking about as far as that, just screwing up, man. And I remember, again, because I know that either God was looking out for me, or it was just something inside of me that was going, dude, because every time I would smoke pot, I would feel guilty as shit afterwards. Yeah. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. Like I do. I felt guilty, like, because I'm going to make a YouTube video pretty soon about the conversation I had with my kids. I have a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old. And the other night we sat in the car for about 30 minutes, and I just told them every life lesson that I just wanted to make sure that they knew, that they were clear, that they understood. And I was talking about some of these things, and it was like, getting high gets you high, but when you get high, you always have to go low. So I always remember the worst part about the whole thing, and this is why I stopped doing drugs. I mean, after, probably 18, 19, 20 years old. And because it's like, every time it would be the same shit, is that I would come down and I would just feel so bad about myself. And I'm going, my life has got to be more than this. There's got to be more to life than living like this. And then I had a really bad trip. And that's when I just got, I didn't smoke pot really ever again. And, and I feel like, and then going into business helped me a lot too. And I'm sure it's probably done something for you, getting mentors. I got a mentor, and that changed my life too. So who were some of those mentors in your life that you think that you really got the most out of?
You know what? Grant Cardone was a big one. I got turned on to him in 2017. My uncle was reading one of his books. He was a entrepreneur. He had started his own business. He said, man, you've got to listen to this book. It's called 10X Rule. The guy narrates it himself. You're going to love him. His name's Grant Cardone. He's got such raw energy. You're going to absolutely love him. And I hadn't read much books. I think the first book that I read that wasn't like a Goosebumps book or something it was called All Things Possible. It was a story of Kurt Warner and his kind of path to success, making it to the NFL. And then, I didn't really pick up many books after that, because I've been always kind of like a slow learner and a slow reader, and I have ADD, and my mind just wanders. And over the years, I've gotten much, much better at that. But that Grant Cardone book, listening to that book, it just fired me up. It lit a fire under my ass. A couple months after that, I joined one of his mentor programs and joined this group of couple hundred people that were meeting weekly and posting daily on Facebook Lives and things like that. That's like our progress and all the exciting things we had going on that we were accomplishing because of all these new habits and these new targets that we were putting in front of ourselves. So Grant Cardone, I've never really worked directly with him. I've met him a handful of times, but it was just being a part of these groups of other people that wanted to do similar things with their life and were just driven and hungry for the next level. And then, of course, I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars over the past 5 years since then to work with Coach Burt and Dave Blanchard and Kane Minkus, some really high level people that I can work with on a one-on-one basis and meet with them personally and really get to pick their brains of years and years of experience in business and life and relationships, communication, all these areas that I knew that I was lacking in. And once I found that resource, it's like, I can speed up this process, man, for leadership, for communication, for all these things that I'm terrible at. How do I get there so much faster? And it's by tapping into other people that have already been there, been through the headaches and very similar experiences to where I was. And just, man, let's really turn this up, get it done on a quick.
Thank you for watching our short clips on Alonzo Academy. If you'd like to watch the next short clip, click here. If you'd like to watch the entire podcast, click here.